There's a certain comfort to wandering around an English country garden, the sounds of the birds, the wind rustling through the trees. Pair these with some gentle yet clever puzzle solving, and you've got the perfect Sunday afternoon game. Botany Manor was released in 2024 on PC, Game Pass, and Nintendo Switch. Developed by Balloon Studio and published by Whitethorn Games, it received glowing reviews on Metacritic, earning an 82 on PC, an 84 on Switch, and an 87 on Xbox Series. The lowest review was a 70, which is something I've never seen before. People loved the short but sweet game that served to lower your blood pressure, describing it as having healing gameplay, flawless puzzle design, and a perfect blend of exploration and puzzle solving, along with sadness when their time at the manor was over. I know this is still a new-ish game, but those are some amazing first impressions. Set in 1890s Somerset, we play as Arabella Green, a retired botanist who's on a mission to create a book of forgotten flora, magical plants that only grow in certain conditions that normal plants do not. The manor is split into different areas with certain plants to grow before we can move on to the next. And along the way there are documents to read in order to learn more about Arabella and the plants she grows. It's a very simple storyline, but as you go further into the game, you find yourself connecting with Arabella through letters and articles you find, and want to help her complete her book. I was intrigued by the concept of this game, exploring a manor and solving puzzles in a gentle atmosphere. I'm so glad I jumped into it. I ended up finishing the game in one sitting, but it was satisfying to experience everything in one continuous playthrough. At first I was worried that my botanical knowledge wasn't high enough to play, but you don't need to know anything to enjoy this game. Each area has a set number of plants we need to grow, and the conditions they need to grow in. We collect clues in the form of documents we find, or books we can read, and once we've collected enough, we can create the perfect environment for our new flora to grow. The puzzles are never so hard that you'll be looking up a walkthrough, and all the information is available to you if you ever get stuck. The puzzles get slightly harder the further into the game you get, but they're never frustrating or confusing. The only time I got stumped was towards the end when I got a couple of clues mixed up and assigned them to the wrong plant, but all it took was some careful reading to sort it out. After the first few plants, I found myself wanting to work on the next plant and see what kind of puzzle awaited me in the next area. This is meant to be a slow and gentle game, with wandering around the manor and grounds at the forefront. You can just explore, take your time reading letters you pick up, admire pictures on the wall, or just enjoy the art style of the game itself. There's no timer, and you can move as quickly or as slowly as you decide. If you solve all the puzzles in one area, you can still revisit it once you move on, so there's no pressure to explore every last detail before leaving. You come across locked doors leading to new areas, and while on your journey to grow the plant, you pick up a key to the next room or garden spot. This keeps you from getting too ahead of yourself and over-exploring, and also helps manage the clues for the plant so you don't get too confused. This method of pacing is really well used, and you don't feel like you're being limited to a set of rooms. It's more like the feeling of being drip-fed information to avoid being overwhelmed. The music and art style go so well together, setting a relaxed atmosphere where you can't really do anything wrong or feel pressure to be quick about things. You can just let Arabella stand in a random place and listen to the music in the background while you do other things, and it would still be a great way to enjoy the game. You do have to do a lot of thinking in this game, and remember where certain areas are when you're running around, but that's pretty much the extent of it. The puzzles start off fairly simple, and the plants you grow only require basic conditions, such as soil temperature, depending which plant you want to grow and the area it grows in natively. This may sound like a lot to remember, but the clues have everything you need to know. Later in the game, you'll find yourself running from one area to another quite far away while carrying a pot of soil, but thankfully it doesn't take hours to get there. Realizing you've messed up also doesn't put you back too far, so you're allowed to make mistakes and only have walking as a punishment. It's pretty obvious how relaxing this game is, so I don't really need to say much. This is a game you can pick up and play, or just enjoy in one sitting, and you won't feel lost trying to remember what you have to do next. There were points where very simple math had to be used, so if like me you're not great with numbers, it's not something to worry about. The storyline is easy to follow with only a few characters of note, and by the end you get a sense of satisfaction and closure that you've helped Arabella in reaching her dream of publishing her book. Like the reviews, I was kinda sad when the game ended, which I wasn't expecting from a puzzle game with a voiceless player character. But somehow the game pulled me in to the point of appreciating Arabella's work and loving the process of researching all these plants. This is an amazing game, with the only real flaw being how short it is at 3 to 4 hours. The small area of the manor and grounds doesn't seem like enough to create a full story or provide enough stuff to retain interest, but it does. Seeing all the quirky little trinkets the family collected, the different gardening spaces they created, each with their own main focus, like an apothecary table or grand kitchen, they all kept me wanting to move forward to see what area was next. There isn't a whole lot of replayability in this game, unless you want to get all the achievements, but the one playthrough I had still sits in my mind as a happy memory of time well spent. This was fun. Let's do it again sometime. And if you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like down below.